Prof. Vally Padayachee is a power energy expert, a former executive manager at Eskom, a former senior executive of City Power Johannesburg. Are we seeing the light? 300 days of no load shedding power cuts. It's 11:35. Views and news into the final lap, and you're welcome to be part of the conversation via WhatsApp at 072 567 1567. Your calls on 021 446 0567. Prof, welcome. It's great to have you.
Good morning, Clarence, to you and your listeners, and I'm glad to be back on your show, and I'm hoping that you can listen to me clearly because I'm coming to you from Melbourne, Australia, and it's a very good evening to you from Australia.
You sound present here. No, it's a beautiful signal, and we are hearing you absolutely loud and clear. The only additions to the fleet, help us here, Modupi and Kusile, is that correct?
Yes, let me give you context. Yes, that's the new addition to the fleet. Well, new, always old, but it's taken a long time for it to be fully commissioned. But bearing in mind that we had old units that were not performing in the past. And
I hear you, but these are the only two additions to the fleet, are they?
Yes.
And they're not operating at 100%. They're not operating optimally, are they?
Yes, no, not optimally, and but they're getting better. Say in the last year or so, they're getting better, but there are still risks by the admission of Eskom and by the Minister of Energy and Electricity.
Okay, so they're not operating at 100%. And yes, we have improved efficiencies. I think that's clear. So that in itself delivered enough power in order for us to enjoy 300 days of no load shedding.
Yes, in essence, I think because basically, I mean, to keep it simple, you need energy and you need a reasonably performing infrastructure grid to get good power at your home or at your premises, and that's been done effectively and efficiently. Again, as I say, in the last year or so, but there are still risks, and we could get back to load shedding, but I'm of the opinion we'll not get back to the rampant levels we've had for the last 2 or 3 years. We may get back to levels 1 and 2 in the more the exception than the rule if we do happen to have a forced outage in terms of load shedding. Clarence.
Yeah, at the same time, of course, Coburg came into a period of application for a renewal of license, and it hasn't also been operating optimally. I think a lot of people are asking the question, have we been strong-armed out of cheap electricity into expensive electricity? Let that be the question for now.
Well, the answer is yes and no. I think the cost of electricity obviously has gone up, and of course it's indicative by the recent application by Eskom, which we're expecting an answer from the regulator shortly. But if you give context to that, and here I'm going to give an independent view because I've come from the Munich side and from the Eskom side. I think, in fairness to Eskom and the municipality, just to keep it quick and short, they have not been given cost-reflective tariffs by the regulator, not for years, but for decades. That's in my opinion. Well, it's also the fact speaks for itself. So over the years, both Eskom and the municipalities have been accepting lower than cost-reflective tariffs because the regulator, which is their duty, as a balancing function to get to affordable tariffs. So they've been awarding Eskom and the municipalities affordable tariffs, which was significantly lower than the cost-reflective tariffs, and hence that's now come back to bite us. And for them to remain viable and sustainable, both Eskom and the municipalities need cost-reflective tariffs, and hence the tariffs applications have gone up Clarence. I just want to leave it there for now.
Let's go to Janusz. Janusz wants to ask a question. You're welcome, Janusz.
Hi, thank you very much for taking my call. We've got a strange situation now. Actually, those who got the panels and providing electricity for themselves, they're going to be penalized by Eskom because at night you have to charge your batteries. So then your tariff for the charging of the batteries at night gonna go higher, which is not fair. And according to some knowledge and some information, many people who actually provided electricity through because they got own electricity, so they create a situation where the Eskom doesn't have to provide them. They did the situation what we got now, and we got also many companies who manufacture electricity and they sell to Eskom, and they are heard that they are paid 60 cents per kilowatt hour when we have to pay 250 or something like that as a consumer. I know that electricity has to be transformed and sent to the line, but not in such a ridiculous prices, such a ridiculous increase. So it's
I don't know if you got that question, Prof, and if you have a response.
Well, I think if I understand the question, what the listener is saying, they're paying more for electricity than what they're able to sell, the cost of it to the utilities. I would say that's happened more in the past, but we are now in a situation where both Eskom and the municipalities will be paying through a net billing process for exported electricity to the grid, almost the same price as you would purchase it, Clarence.
Yeah, you, Prof. We're going to have to wrap it up, but essentially that rabbit hole is compelling. It's not easy for us to believe that there's been a miraculous transformation in terms of efficiencies at our generating units, and that, Kusile and the Madupi have been the silver bullet. It's not easy for us to understand this miracle having happened since there was an electricity minister while we've been suffering it for over a decade. What would your response be to that?
No, maybe I will just, in interest of time, final comment. The one point I was going to make is that I think this new leadership team, the new board, Exco and the CEO, what they brought to the table, and this we haven't talked a lot about, but it's a key point, is the effective and efficient management of the risks that Eskom and Eskom generation has been facing. I think for the last 2, 3, maybe even longer, Eskom knew exactly what was wrong with the problems on the grid. But the leadership at the time, before that, were unable to, in my opinion, to manage those risks. I think the key difference now is that this team,
you give them a lot of credit, Prof, and we hoping for that, obviously, but we're bracing that maybe just that light is an oncoming train.